All right. Welcome back, everyone. I'm going to try something a little different here. Hopefully y'all can hear me better. I was trying out something with my microphone. I got a new microphone. This one is supposedly a lot better. So give me some feedback if it's a lot better. So anyways, I was as I was saying, I was talking about my Bobcat miner, and I was having a lot of problems with the setup of it. It was syncing really slowly. And this is something that I heard back from the forums or the Discord back in over in China, is that there was a lot of troubles just syncing. And so that's what I noticed, was that there was a lot of, it was just very slow. Like instantly it got up to about 90 some percent. And then it just kind of petered out for a while. And I noticed that the port forwarding wasn't turned on. So I just configured that today, and I've been slowly watching that, and it's been counting up. And so haven't gotten any experience yet with the Bobcat, but I'm looking at maybe sending out the people's hotspot this week. We'll see how. I'm going to check with the manufacturer just one more time before I send that out, just to make sure that it's good to go, because they said, well, we would like you to keep them close for right now. But so yeah, if you've got questions, throw them in the chat and we'll try and answer them. Can't guarantee I'll have the answers to everyone, but we'll talk about it. I've gotten some really easy questions. I know that one of the ones that gets asked a lot right from the beginning is, are all these miners the same? Do they mine the same amount? And they do. One isn't necessarily better than the other. That's the intention anyways. So right away. Also, another common question I get is, will this antenna work with my miner? And at least the ones that I've recommended will work with any miner. So you just need the appropriate connections, which is why I kind of hammer on connections all the time. So make sure that you have let me get my handy dandy chart. This one is awesome. That one's very, very helpful. Of course, this is the miner side. So right now, Bobcat is the SMAs, and rack and the original hotspots are RP SMAs. So will I get my miner before Christmas? I hope you all do. I really do. I think we will. I think we'll get through these supply chain issues and be able to motor mount. I mean, I think that there's 12,000 miners coming through CalChip right now, and that's really exciting. So yeah, I'm hoping that we're going to see the network grow by leaps and bounds here, and that these will all be things of the past. But of course, I felt that way like a month ago, that there was taken that we'll just get through the next couple of weeks and then it'll be fine, and we won't have to worry about this anymore. So here we are a month later. So have I used hotspot RF? I have not tried that yet. I haven't tried any of the antenna charting tools. So that is something that probably should be done, but my locations are pretty limited. I haven't started to pick locations. I will get into that more soon as I have more miners come in, but I just haven't had to cherry pick a place yet. I haven't had that nice of a selection of places yet. Any thoughts on the Nebra sold out issue? Do you think that they will commit to sending the devices? Well, yeah, I think Nebra has been pretty forward from the start. At least on the referral side, they have they didn't want to pay any of their affiliates until they actually shipped. So I think that that's a good sign from even from me doing some referrals, that they're going to hold back any payments from me from that standpoint. And I think that that's a good thing to do all around to establish trust in the system. So I want to see them go out. I would love to see them go out. I know that they've got a couple headed my way when they do ship out. There's one for me to just tool around with, and then there's another one I believe for the people's hotspot, which I'll plug that again. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It's really cool program that I started, and hopefully we'll get it with all the different manufacturers as we get on board. Does the hotspot need to be set up in one place, or can I take it with me to different places? You will need to set it up for one place. Otherwise, you're going to be spending a lot of HNT in order to assert the location. So, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong here. It's either $10 worth or $40 worth for an assert. I don't remember what it is offhand. I could totally be wrong, so I should probably check into that to be totally sure. But there is a fee. All the manufacturers, they prime it with that your first assert is free. So that's a nice one. Yeah, thank you. $10 to assert it. So there you go. Good courses on Udemy about RF and antennas. Cool. Thanks for the info there. That's good information. I know that a lot of people are like, oh, can I use any antenna I want? No. You definitely want to make sure you're matching the frequencies and such. And then another common misconception that I get is, can I order the 10 dBi, or should I go right to a 20 dBi antenna? No, dBi is very, very well, we've talked about it before, but you definitely want to experiment with your stock. That's a general answer I'll give to everybody. Just try with your stock antenna. Put it near a window, put it beside a window. One person that's been doing a lot of experimenting moved it about 3 feet to the left of a window, and he actually started mining even better. Can't explain it, but that's how radio frequency works. So it bounces off things. Oh yeah, that's a good analogy. DBI is like a flashlight. So the higher you go, the more narrow beam it is. Good analogy. Thank you. I'm afraid Rack will be ending their ordering soon. I have not heard anything about that. Yeah, with the orders getting suspended from Nebra, I think it's a good thing. They want us, we don't want to end up in a situation where we're making promises or making, taking orders, taking money. I mean, bottom line, if you were looking at the value of HNT last fall when many of us ordered, if we would have put that in, I know if I would have put that in back then, I would have somewhere in the area of $7,500 worth of HNT if I had just put it in there. So I really think that if they can't justify that they can meet their delivery timeframes, then it's really tough. But I think the most trustworthy thing is to say, no, we can't take orders right now. We can't even secure the parts. We would be holding on to your money, and then you'd be frustrated. So if I was on the manufacturer side, I would want to put, if I'm in the best interest of growing the network, I would want your money to go to a place where you can get miners quickly. So, yeah, I hear you on the Bobcat ordering practices. It's been a very different. The things that I've heard, at least from the paying with crypto, is that it's been easy. So I did put, I think it was in my Bobcat unboxing video, I put the links at least in the comments. I'll maybe go back and put them in the description as well. I asked them this week, I said, send me the links that you would like me to share with my subscribers and viewers to show them exactly what it is. And there have already been videos filmed, so I've been asked, but it didn't make sense for me to film my own video. So I just pointed to those. I said, which one would you recommend the best? And they sent me back two. So one was that somebody else did, and then another was that one that they had done for them. So I think the reasoning too was, if you didn't hear, they wanted because PayPal hangs on to the money, as far as, assuring that the transactions are valid and such, right? They've got to be an intermediary, and so they're holding on to that money during the interim, and so you have to, in order to get that money out as a business, you have to wait a period of time. So say legit you ordered something over PayPal, and then you got it, but it was like broke and didn't work. Well, then at least you could take it up with PayPal, and PayPal would work it out with the manufacturer. So they need that 4-month period of time because it really hasn't done this yet. And I guess Nebra's relationship with PayPal is pretty good, and so that's why they're able to kind of have a shorter window. But I think Bobcat, with being a little bit newer on the scene, is having a little trouble with that. And then, so in order to get liquidity to buy more parts quickly, that's why they needed to do the PayPal refund if possible, and then use the crypto to buy more parts on the front end. So it would help actually speed up deliveries from that, when they can get the kind of chain going of being able to purchase parts for miners in the future. So yeah, I hear you. It's a trusting exercise, and you kind of just got to work it out. So I think it's good to have the miners out, especially getting it to the YouTubers, showing, hey, there is a product. It actually works. It actually mines. So I think that's going to be something to watch here for the interim. And I know that there's still a lot of waiting on that, or a lot of nervousness on the purchaser side. So, okay. Do I know the megs for upload and download? I don't know the upload, but I know that it's roughly a couple megs, it's supposedly 5 kilobytes per second. So you're looking at a few Netflix movies a week. And I know there was like 30 gigabytes. I would have to look up my own stats on my own miner to know for sure. Can you connect 2 racks at a 1 kilometer distance in a medium-sized city with a stock antenna? So the stock antenna has been cited for, I think, over 20 kilometer witnesses. The stock antennas are pretty good on all the manufacturers' devices. It's getting it to get through your windows or your walls, or however it works. So yes, it should be able to, but it's not guaranteed. I had I had a hotspot about 1 kilometer or 1 mile away. I can't remember which, but it was very, very close, and it wouldn't connect when my hotspot was inside the house, or with the stock antenna. And I moved it from one window to the other, and it just didn't work. One or the other, something was not working. I mean, the miner was working, it was doing challenges, but it wasn't witnessing with the closest one at all. And so that was really frustrating. And so it wasn't until I put my antenna outside, that this is back last fall, that immediately my rewards jumped up to 15 HNT. I mean, I made more than just the witness to the one that was closest to me. I started hitting others like crazy. So it was really, that was the best result for me, was just moving the antenna outside, and of course having an outdoor antenna. Can you think of any reason why opening the proper port and no longer being relayed would cause there to be fewer rewards? I'm not understanding exactly the question, but I can talk about the port forwarding and how it affects rewards. As I understand it, the port forwarding works as a better way to communicate over the peer-to-peer network between hotspots, and eventually between validators. And so what that does is, as that communication is coming through, if it has to be relayed, and there's even some Wi-Fi connectivity problems with your hotspot, then that causes delays. And right now, since consensus is happening on all the hotspots, then that's a very intense exercise. And if you have any delay in there, then that could cause the reward cycles to slow down. And as they slow down, then the rewards, if the whole system slows down, well, then the rewards slow down as well. So it's kind of depressing the whole network from their ability to provide rewards, at least where the consensus is happening. So I hope that answers your question. Let me know if you have a follow-up to that. Can I talk briefly about my hotspot that has the extension cable and lightning arrestor? Sure. So what I have right now is the antenna. And because I ordered the wrong end for the cable, originally I was thinking that my Nearson was going to be the antenna to install. And so I matched up my cable end to that antenna, and it just wasn't producing as well. So I had to take it out and put the rack 8 dBi back up. So right now I have the rack 8 dBi. Then I have a lightning arrestor that is serving as a adapter, basically, to my cable. Then after that, I have my cable, which is 27 feet in length. And then I do and hopefully you've seen the videos. All that is all the loops and the service loops and stuff are there. And then there's another lightning arrestor, which is where it's supposed to be, right near the entrance to my home. And then there's a 5-foot cable. And on that end, there's the RPSMA, because right now I'm using the OG hotspot. So that's the entire length of the cable. Yes, I know I have 2 lightning arrestors in there right now, and I'm taking some loss on that. Eventually I'll order a new cable and get the right adapter, or not even get the right end to the cable, and then that will improve my loss. But it's still getting really good earnings off of my setup right now. You might look at it like, oh, that cable's so long, and oh, you have 2 lightning arrestors. Oh, you're getting so much loss. It's still mining and cranking out a lot of HNT. So I'm pretty happy with the setup right now. And I mean, if anything, I'm being extra cautious, and I don't know if I really need to be that cautious about the setup. So, all right. Have I heard of light hotspots? There is a podcast out from the Helium's, the hotspot. That's what it's called, on light gateways. I have not listened to it yet, so I want to listen to that before I start putting out information on it. So it's a good question. Any reviews of the new miners out? So I've obviously done the OG hotspot, and that's what I've used the most. And then all of my other hotspots I have not swapped out at my location. I kind of chose that there's enough of those out there being reviewed and mining. Now the Bobcat is the exception. It's so new on the scene, especially for the United States, that there's high interest in that. So I have it at a host right now that I'm investigating how it's going, because my setup is so great. I would rather not sacrifice on my earnings if I have to. But of course, I will be talking about that as I get the results. What are the laws, regulations regarding maximum legal DBI? That would be entirely local to what you would want to look at. I think there's a maximum transmit on the hotspot itself, so it's limited there. And I believe that the measuring apparatus is something like, it's either 20 centimeters or 20 feet away. I can't remember what it is. I looked it up once, but that's where they measure it to see if it's over the entire the length of, or sorry, if it's over the DBI, and when it would be too bad. All right, Helium says don't use an antenna higher than 9. I would say even the 9 is situational, and your results may vary. So yeah, I know that there's been a lot of recommendation to get even lower. So that's why I've got both a 5.8 dBi and a 3 dBi coming to me. So I'm going to test those out. So the 3 dBi antenna range, it varies. It really does vary based on, as they talked about earlier in the comments about using something like the, what is it, Cloud RF and other tools to investigate line of sight. So it's just going to be what you think you can get with it. 3 dBi obviously isn't going to go as far as an 8 dBi. So, but that's intentional. And so it all depends on your application. All right. Nice haircut. Thanks. I'm new to HNT and trying to learn what is the use case or goals of the project in the 5-year time frame. So if you watch my introduction to Helium, that will kind of show you the original intent of the network is to just build out IoT devices. Now there is something an effort that's going forward to look at building a 5G network on top of the Helium network. I don't know what that looks like. They're just in the kind of I think they started the project a bit and talked about how it is, but I think that there's a lot more on Helium side that they're going to get into. But I think it's going to be really interesting if they go to the 5G network as well. I know that the investors, if you listen to the hotspot, there's investors on there that are just saying they're really excited about Helium's intentions in that 5 to 10 year time frame. But I'm still loving the applications even to the into the IoT network. There's just so many applications. I've talked about a couple of ideas that I've had, and more I want to get my hands on that dev kit from Rack to see what stuff I can do. So just experiment with my own. I do some development, and I have development paths, not with circuit board stuff, but I know enough to be dangerous as far as writing code. So let's see here. What else we got here? How long is my coax? I talked about that a little bit earlier. It's 32 feet total. And I've got a lightning arrestor at about the 5 feet on one of the ends, 5 feet from one of the ends. Okay, is a good setup 3 hotspots in the same hexagon on res 8. So as I've heard, all the reses matter, all of them. And if you think it's going to be easier going forward, it's not. They're adding more complexities into how earnings get calculated. So there's 2 things that are being added, and I haven't found where to edit and enter them into the information yet. So there's height, the height of your antenna, and then the gain. So those are 2 things that are going to become very, very important in earnings calculations coming up. And I believe that they'll even do that in a kind of a reverse form, like there is density right now. I think that you'll potentially see some density calculations or even penalties based on that that could affect earnings. So who knows? Maybe if we're broadcasting too widely, then and have too much of a gainful, a gainful antenna, too high dBi, then that could negatively affect our earnings. So I don't know. That I'm just kind of talking out loud here, thinking out loud about what could happen with it. Okay, next question. Any other miners I am not doing right now at this time. Helium is my kind of project, and I'm going to keep investigating that for right now. So thanks for the questions there. But let's see here. When will Nebra be able to take orders again? I'm assuming that's what it is. We don't know. It really depends on when they can get the guarantee for parts to support that. That's really what the answer is. So your guess is as good as mine. I know on their end, if I was on their end, I would tell you as soon as we got the parts. It would be cool to see what parts that they were waiting on, and just to get a little bit more There's a almost like conspiracy level theorists about going on about what is actually the holdup, and so part of my real job is to just work to make things transparent. And so whatever the problem is, we just make it visible. And so I like talking about it, even if it's, hey, this chip is from this manufacturer, and this is where the holdup is. Now, a lot of that might be secret sauce on how they're sourcing their parts and putting them on circuit boards and stuff. So maybe they can't get to that level. Don't know. Is the location of your antenna the location of your hotspot as registered on the Helium network? Yes, I would say when you go to assert the location of your hotspot, you definitely want to assert on the location of the antenna. So usually you're not going to go too far in one direction or the other, but I would recommend that that's the best way, is to have it where your antenna is located. Is it possible to connect multiple antennas with different DBIs to one hotspot to improve your reach? Yes, I think. I haven't done it. So, and I don't know if I would. More than likely, what I would do is I would set up another miner, uh, you know, 300 meters away, and then have it at a shorter range, or a smaller DBI. So that way I could hit both spots and also have good witnesses and all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of the way I would approach it personally. But I haven't heard of anybody mixing multiple antennas, unless there was like and I talked about this example of like you're at a mountain pass or something like that, and there's a bend in the way, and so you go one antenna this way and another antenna that way. Let's see here. Oh yeah, so setting it up according to the hot or the hex location. I would definitely be careful with that. With it being all the hexes as important, it may not be as profitable as you think, but it's worth a shot. Let me know how it's going. Is the shortage getting worse? I don't know. I'm not privy to that information. That'd be great to talk with one of the manufacturers. Again, maybe just throwing out a hotspot. I'm hoping that somebody or a podcast topic on getting all of the manufacturers together. That would be a really cool podcast, to just get all of them in one room and talk it out, or at least have a series of them on there. That would be really neat in my mind. I'd love to hear from all of them at once. As far as I can tell, all the manufacturers have been very positive and very encouraging of another from my interactions with each of them. So they all want to see the network grow. I heard if you plug the unit in before plugging in the antenna, it will fry. I don't believe that it would fry, but it's definitely not advised. That is a tip that they've asked repeatedly. Turn off your miner before you change your antenna. How far can you move the hotspot before you need to reassert it? That's a good question. I think that eventually the network will figure out that you've deviated too much, but right now it's 300 meters. Do I think a 4G hotspot plus solar panel plus battery plus hotspot in a sealed box that's freely movable to a prime location would work on a ground level? It's something I am considering. On a ground level, I'm not sure. I mean, if you were using something that was pretty low dBi, that if it's on ground level, if you've got any altitude to that, then that might be a different story. But I'm really interested in a solar powered setup. That would be really interesting. One person chatted me up, and they wanted to actually market this, and so I think that they were even going to send me a whole setup such that I could test it out, and then of course share the results. And then of course they want the sales too. So So yeah, if I end up getting some of that, I'll definitely share some information. I know that there's some people out there that are really interested in the solar setups. High dBi antennas, can they be used indoors? I've seen a lot of rack 8 dBis, put on those broom command broom holders on the inside of a window, and they've uh, they've said that, or they've used it, and that's just how they're using it. I did see a question earlier. I think it was from one of the other YouTubers out there. Have I gotten my Bobcat yet? And I said yes. So yes, I've talked about that at the beginning of the stream, and so it's hasn't fully synced yet. I had it set up, and then we had a cable problem. That's another thing. Double check your equipment, and if you're using host's equipment, double check their equipment as well. Look at it, because I just said, "Oh, you plug it into the back of the box," and then didn't even realize until a couple days later that it was really slow in syncing, and then finally actually stopped syncing. And I'm like, "What's going on?" Well, when they went to reboot it once for me, uh, I saw that the little tab on the Ethernet cable had broken off. So that's why it actually dropped off from the network. So those simple problems can really mess you up. All right, turn for the next question. Oh, I'm sorry if you commented and I didn't reply. I try and get to them all, but there's a lot of comments that go through, and so I apologize for that. But do reach out again. Just go back to the same comment if that's what you can, and then ask your question again. I don't mind that. Um, Once is just fine. I have 4 hotspots that say they need attention. Any ideas? So usually that's when they drop off the network in some way, or they have some just problems. Um, Usually a reboot kind of fixes it, but I would recommend that. Any further issues regarding the relayed issue with HNT miner? So let's see here with relayed. I went back, and this is one thing I'm trying to do with all of my videos. If there's any problems or communication correction, like I was just plain wrong or something like that, I'll drop it in a pinned comment, either in the description itself or a pinned comment. And so I'll share back all the details on there. And so far there's been, a couple of people just like they couldn't happen. Um, they couldn't do it with their router for some reason. It just didn't work. And so they went and got a new router, and then it finally fixed the problem. What will happen when Helium halves? I don't know. I'm not the crypto expert. I will be that obvious. I am not the crypto expert. They what I keep hearing is that don't worry, the value will increase, and that's the intention, is that as the supply gets lower, the value increases. But I'm not the expert, so. Maybe a dumb question, but is there any way to protect a miner's earnings from being diluted from a bunch of miners popping up around it? Great question. So this has been used already as an attempt to mess with the system or mess with other miners. I think that this is a important problem that we're going to have to deal with. People are going to get frustrated with this aspect, and I think it really needs to be thought of. Maybe longevity might be part of it. If somebody has been, just take me for instance. If I only have one hotspot and it's on my house and that's it. It's a very decentralized setup, right? Well, then somebody comes near and finds a host really near me and starts inside the 300-meter radius, or even really close, that it affects my earnings. Well, then that hurts me and it hurts them, but they might be doing it on purpose. And then they could, basically vamp an entire area and then take away earnings and then put up their own, such that it helps them. And I think you're going to see it ebb and flow, and it could get, I don't know. Well, we'd have to see what happens, but hopefully the algorithms and the changes that are being made will give respect to that. But I don't think it's been totally figured out yet. I think it's an important thing to think about, and as Helium ventures forth, what they're going to do about it. One thing that I will say in here is that I think that the value of doing that will decrease. Right now, it's lucrative, but I think that long term, it's not going to be something that's worth fighting over, if I can say it that way, and worth vamping over. But I know that there were some people that were intentionally fighting the cheater nets that were going on, and so then they were asserting their locations right near them to bring the values down. Everybody keeps asking, since they can't order numbers anymore, should we buy Bobcat miners before the light gateways come out? So this is an interesting conundrum, and I haven't listened to the light gateway podcast, and I haven't studied up on them too much yet. It's going to be an interesting thing to like. Well, why should you even want a full gateway right now? Right now, of course, it's great because we haven't switched over to validators yet, so we still get a shot at the 6% earnings through consensus. But long term, what's going to happen? As we switch over to light gateways, well, we know that there's going to be some shifting of the rewards as well. I mean, with the validators coming online. So what will be the main difference between the two? That's out to be determined. And as I learn more about light gateways, I'll probably have an exact, topic on light gateways, and I'll do a very planned approach to that. Get all, a nice outline, get some slides together or something like that. So stay tuned. All right, let's see. There's another question. I saw a question about earnings and miners, multiple miners. You're gonna have to, it's entirely situational. It depends on how many hotspots there are in the area. So if you have two, there's a calculation for how close they are and how the density. I mean, you can go back to, what is it, hit 19 or 17? I can't remember which one, but there's calculations there that will affect earnings, and that's on every, and also it's on every hotspot out there on Explorer. So if you want to see what that is, or if you want to see how how bad it could be, go to some place like Chicago or San Francisco and just go look at density scores there. You'll see some examples of how much that they're mining or not mining because there's so much density there. Not much info on Synchробit. Yeah, I from my standpoint, I think it's once you, I think three manufacturers. Once we got over that, it became a little bit harder to keep up with all the manufacturers that are coming on board, and then there's two more coming as well. So I think that I just haven't heard too much other than Synchробit had to delay as well. So it's a tough spot. I think that they're still waiting on their certifications right now. So I think that my trust is with all the manufacturers. So far, they're gonna deliver these things as soon as they can. And obviously, they know the stakes. They don't want to send something that's not going to work out into the world. So I'm not too worried about one brand or the other. The network's supposed to take care of that. And then, of course, even from, if I was a manufacturer and I sent my own hotspots out, I would want to support those. And if there were any problems, I would proactively, solve them and fix them so that you can get your money's worth. So I think trust is really important in this system. And I think that the at least so far from the manufacturers that I've seen and heard and talked to, and even the ones I haven't, from what I've seen on the Discord, they're doing a good job. They're doing the best they can right now. I talked about the HNT price over the a little bit earlier. So Is it possible to set up a signal repeater in a different location to bolster the distance of your coverage? So there are packet forwarders. I know that, and I think the light gateways also might have something to do with that. Again, I'm not studied up on that. I need to study that before I'm going to share more information. Thanks for the compliments, everybody. I really appreciate the encouragement and also the critical feedback too. I know when there's mic problems or whatever, it frustrates me. So just as much as it probably does you. So I appreciate you giving me all kinds of feedback. I do want to take a minute to just source topics, and please don't put them in the comments right now, but comment on the video later, or just go comment on another video that's on the channel somewhere. Just throw what topics do you want to hear? What haven't we covered yet? I want to make sure that we're, especially as we're going to the future, that we're keeping the content fresh, and not putting out too much out there, too much overstating of the obvious. So hopefully we can keep the content light. It's fun hanging out with y'all and answering questions. So I'll take that as well. You're about to buy 50 on Monday. How should you go about it? All in Bobcats, split, or wait till light gateways? Light gateways are definitely going to be cheaper. By the time you get them, I think that the light gateways, or it will have moved off to validators. So I think that might be a good investment, but I just don't know enough about them yet. Bobcats are the ones that seem to be saying that they can ship regularly, but it's still to be determined. So if you didn't see that, they just sent out the notification the other day that they will be shipping this week, approximately 2,000 miners to all the locations, I believe. So Canada, US, and Europe. So that's some really exciting news. So this is actual people with, not YouTubers. I know you all have been frustrated about that all the YouTubers have gotten them and you haven't. So I think they hear you. And so getting out, even if it's a small shipment, I think is a great thing. So I like that, because then they can get them out in the field, get some more results, and establish that trust in the system. So yeah, I hear you. I like, even going back to last fall, like, oh, I'll get one from Emirate. And if I want to change, in the future, I can just order one on my own. And then, so that's what I did, and ended up having to wait 6 months. So are there IoT projects on the horizon like Helium? I think that LoRaWAN has been around for quite a while. This is an interesting opportunity where they're building the network for it. So it's interesting how it's going to affect things, and why now? Whereas, why now? That's just an interesting thing. What happened that we couldn't have done this earlier? I like questions like that. Truthfully, how did your antenna change the outcome of your earnings? What are some new miners I've discovered? Oh, I don't know of anything other miners as far as other than Helium miners. So the changing the antenna. So I've only done really 2 changes so far. Well, three antennas total. The stock antenna, and then I went to the Rack 8 Dbi antenna. Then I went to the Nearson antenna, and then after the earnings, they were about 30% less with the Nearson 9. So I went back to the Rack 8 Dbi, and at the same time, I had heard some positive things about the Rack 5.8 dBi, so I ordered that one and a 3 dBi. I was like, oh, I'll try it as well. Let's get some more information out there. I've kind of gotten the gambit of all the recommendations. So yeah, I'll share those details when I get that information. All right, so we have about a minute left. Any last quick questions? I wanted to make it shorter. I was going to shoot for 30 minutes, and here we went 45. So I apologize for that. Bobcat starting shipping. Yes, they are. That's exciting. I'm excited. Hopefully you won't see the syncing problems that I did, but that was more due to problems with myself and understanding the setup. Not even understanding the setup. It happens. You have a bad cable. So do IoT sensors, like examples, affect profitability? Yes. I mean, anytime that they transmit data through the network, that gets converted back into HNT. Um, so I did not order my Bobcat. That Bobcat contacted me and sent it to me. So I actually haven't ordered a Bobcat unit yet, and done the whole process. So they just sent it to me. They sent two to me, and so one's on for the people's hotspot. Where to find more information on light gateways? Obviously, the Helium website would be the best, and then there is a light gateway podcast episode out from the hotspot that uh, I haven't listened to it yet, so I can't recommend one way or the other. Transactions on Helium from Binance are not moving. Have I noticed any problems with the HNT chain? I don't move it around very often, but like when I haven't noticed too many issues with it. Of course, if it's Helium to Helium, it's really quick. As I've been paying the hosts for the people's hotspot, it's happened really quick. So. Of course, I said 1 more minute, and then I talk for 5 more. So let's see here. I'll get through these other questions real quick. Do the users of opt devices pay for coverage? Yes, that's how when they buy HNT and convert it to DC, then that's how they're paying for coverage. So when they use their device, it circles back. So you have a nice cycle of HNT to DC that gets converted back to HNT and pays the hosts. So long term, that's going to be the only cycle. So right now we're having proof of coverage, but long term it will just be with data usage. Did I ground my outdoor antennas? Yes, I have videos on that. Check them out. All right. Thank you all, everyone, for watching. I appreciate your time. And I appreciate your like and subscribe, always the support, the comments, and sharing this out with other people. That was my main intention, was as this hits the ground, that as you wait patiently and sometimes very impatiently for your miners, that you hit the ground running, that you have the equipment that you need, the knowledge that you need to mine the most that you can given your location. And I'll keep giving more information like that since that's what you need. And even if we're waiting for miners, we can get it. We can get that information very, very quickly and get you mining really quickly. So that's what I've done, and that's what has been my goal from day one. So thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and all that other YouTube stuff. Take care, everyone. Peace.